Hey guys, so today I'm doing a video all about Venus signs. If you're new to astrology or you don't really understand what I'm talking about, Venus signs are one of the many signs that we all have in our birth charts, and the sign that you know already, like for example, I'm an Aquarius, that's your sun sign, but we have tons of other signs that you can look into that will all tell you different things about yourself. I highly recommend astro.com. I'll put the link right here to calculate your birth chart so you can find out a very accurate calculation of all of your signs. And just to throw it out there, these things that I'm gonna say kind of do apply to the sun signs as well. So if I am describing Venus and Aries, it also does somewhat describe Aries sun people, but it's definitely going to be more accurate to those who have that Venus sign, since an Aries sun person might have a Cancer Venus. Everything's interchangeable, so for right now I'm focusing on mainly the Venus signs, and I highly recommend going to check yours out to see if what I'm going to say is accurate, and if you can, find out your crush's birth time so you can calculate their birth chart and use this video to find out their love style. Starting with Aries, because that's the first sign of the zodiac. Venus and Aries people are very impulsive and very non-committal when it comes to love. I know a few personally, and they have a new romantic partner every single week. They have such a hard time committing because their mind is just completely always changing, and like they need someone to keep up with their lifestyle, and if they don't do that, they will be so quick to drop them. Someone with a Venus in Aries definitely needs a lot of space in a relationship and cannot be smothered, or else they will be so super inclined to drop you like ASAP. Basically, the second they find out that you're not like serving them anymore, they will drop you. But however, that's not to say they can't commit, because they can, and when they do find the person they love and they want to be with, it can be a very long-term thing. They just definitely need that space and that freedom to still like be their own person and not be tied down, because that's like the most important factor to them in a relationship. Going along with that, Venus and Aries people probably for that reason are going to be more attracted to people who kind of have that Aries Mars influence in their chart. So people who are really motivated, people who are like go-getters, people who are like leaders and motivate them to do more so that they won't be like bored and discontent. So moving on to Venus and Taurus. Taurus is notoriously one of the most like structured and routine based signs. They are a fixed sign, so they love stability, and they probably are going to be super prone to staying in relationships until they can't possibly stay anymore, which can be a good thing or can be a bad thing. If they are in a abusive relationship, that can definitely be a bad thing and like a toxic trait. But it is also just a generally really good trait to be super understanding and always loyal to your partner, and that's exactly what Venus and Taurus people are like. In addition to being super loyal and dependable in a relationship, Taurus Venus people are definitely more on the affectionate and gift giving and like all of that, you know, typical love related stuff. They definitely love to receive and give gifts as like a means of showing they love you, and for you to love them, they find it super important to like have material items that signify your love for each other. But in addition to that, they do love sensory touch, so they will like really be the affectionate type, and they will want to have a lot of physical contact with you and one-on-one time where you can literally just like cuddle and hug and be like skin to skin contact. In addition, I would say that Taurus Venus people are not the type to have multiple romantic partners in a short span of time. They're definitely super committed to the same person for long periods of time, and it can take them a while to get over someone if they do get out of the relationship. Venus in Gemini, it has this stereotype that Venus and Gemini people are like cheaters and like they're unable to commit, and I would say like that kind of goes for most of those like detached signs, because like that's literally just like what they're all about. But I would not say that Venus and Gemini people are cheaters. I don't think any one sign is more prone to cheating than the other, but I think Venus and Gemini people, sort of similar to Venus and Aries people, they need to be stimulated constantly, and they cannot get bored in a relationship or they will be so quick to leave. They need to be entertained. They need to have someone intellectual in their relationship that they can bounce ideas off of and like always be like mentally stimulated. And if you can't do that for a Venus and Gemini person, they're going to be definitely more likely to either drop you or keep you as strictly a friends with benefits relationship. I definitely think Venus and Gemini people would be less likely to be super affectionate and prone to gift giving and more attracted to words of affirmation and someone physically telling them or verbally telling them that they love them and these are the reasons why I love you, and like kind of laying everything out on the table with their words. Because Gemini is such a verbally inclined, I'm not sure if that's the right word, sign. They definitely need that communication in their relationship, and that's going to be super important to them. But definitely watch out for their need to be constantly satisfied and like intellectually stimulated, and they definitely are super attracted to smart people and people who can constantly give them that knowledge they crave. Venus in Cancer people are definitely going to be more likely to take on a motherly or just like a caretaker role in the relationship, which definitely can be toxic if done to the right person, or the wrong person I should say. But, you know, like, it really just depends on how the other person receives it. If the other person in the relationship is more mentally developed and, like, mature, then it's a really good thing that your partner has Venus in Cancer and is able to, like, give you that... My phone just fell. Give you that, like, love and like nurturing that you may or may not need in a relationship. Aside from that, Venus and Cancer people, whether or not they have other Venus or Cancer influence in their chart, tend to have a weak spot when it comes to their emotions in their romantic relationships. And I think it's just because they have such a soft spot for like love. If you know your Venus is in Cancer, you're definitely going to be more likely to take your relationship matters very seriously and take them to heart. So like any little thing that goes wrong is really gonna bother them. If you have Venus in Cancer, something to look out for is that you are not purposely trying to attract damaged people into your life because you want to fix them. That's like something I think a lot of people with Cancer placements in general like to do, because you know that you have that tendency to like try to fix people in you, and subconsciously sometimes those people can like sense that and like come into your life and take advantage of that. So definitely be careful of that. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Venus and Cancer people are definitely one of the most nurturing, loving partners to have in a relationship, and chances are they're gonna be likely to show you they love you in ways that involve like mothering you and, for example, cleaning the house, cooking for you, like folding your clothes, just kind of like home related things like that. Okay, so next is Venus in Leo, and Leo is already definitely a very extravagant, you know, typically like associated with like glamour sign, I would say. So Venus and Leo people are definitely going to be super flirtatious and kind of outward with their romantic experiences. I would say that Venus in Leo is most likely going to be the person to reach out first in a relationship to like ignite it, but I wouldn't go so far as to say that they are not super committed in a relationship, because they definitely are. Leo is a fixed sign and they definitely thrive off of love. So while they do have that playful and like kind of like hard to get flirtatious approach, it's easy to be distracted by that and think, oh, like they don't want anything serious, but deep down all a Leo really wants is to be loved. They will put on this front to say that like they're not looking for anything serious, but definitely have the tendency to fall in love with someone very hard and be completely like swept off their feet. When they do fall for this person, I think they definitely had the tendency to show their partner off a lot, be very extravagant about their relationship, and like possibly buy a lot of very expensive gifts for them. And basically everything with a Venus and Leo relationship is going to be very out there and very public, and they just want to show their relationship off to the world because they're so proud of it. Okay, so Venus in Virgo is next, and Virgo is another sign that is highly concerned with intellect and intelligence and like kind of being attracted to someone's mind rather than their face. So Venus and Virgo people are not going to be the type to have multiple partners and like sleep around. They're not going to be the first one to make the move usually. They're going to kind of admire from afar, and they're going to be more likely to find people attractive who have a strong intellect and can keep them on their feet and like maybe even have respectful debates between each other. Basically just someone who can stimulate them intellectually is going to be like the perfect match for a Venus and Virgo person. However, they do have the tendency to nitpick. They might have a tendency to be critical in their relationships, being super picky with the way that their partner treats them. For that reason, I feel like it's not a good idea for a Venus and Virgo person to date someone super sensitive. So someone with a lot of water influence in their chart probably wouldn't be the best idea. For them, a lot of things are rooted in logic and not emotion, and that's going to carry over into their relationships. And again, relating to that, they're not going to be the super affectionate type or the super extravagant type. They're probably going to prefer to show you they love you in ways that involve words of affirmation or just spending quality time with you, and even like having political debates or something like that. Venus in Libra is said to be like the best place that Venus can be because Libra, I think, is ruled by Venus. Because Libra is all about relationships, love, beauty, like, you know, the whole 9 yards. So people with Venus in Libra tend to be very in love with love and like in love with the idea of like having a long-term partner, and they probably fantasize about it all the time and are very hopeless romantic. And when they do find that person that they want to settle with, they're going to be very, very affectionate and buy them gifts and just shower them in love and just be very Libra-like in their relationship. Something that I think is a downfall of having your Venus in Libra is the tendency to idealize your relationship or your partner or just like love in general. So with the wrong person, it could be definitely very easy to overlook their flaws and kind of just hope for the best and just kind of think that they're this perfect person that they're actually not, and that can definitely lead to some toxic dynamics. But overall, Libra Venus people just want to be loved and they want to be shown affection, they want to be hugged and showered in gifts, and they will do the same to you. So Venus in Scorpio is a placement I have yet to see in a person I know, which is interesting. But from what I can deduct, I feel like someone with Venus in Scorpio is not gonna want to play around that much in relationships. They're gonna be seeking something intense and something very like deep connection with the other person, which is not to say they don't sleep around, because I feel like since Scorpio is such like a sexual sign, I feel like having your Venus in Scorpio would definitely make you more of like this sexual type and probably have very many sexual partners in your lifetime, but it's going to be very black and white to them whether or not they deeply connect with this person, and they know that from square one. So what a Venus in Scorpio person is looking for is a very like deep, intense relationship with someone, like emotional connection, and someone that they can really like open up to completely and not be afraid to be vulnerable in front of them. So above anything else, I think they crave the emotional connection. They might not be physically affectionate in the way that people would expect. I think they definitely would tend to show their love in sexual ways more than anything, but any placement with Scorpio in it is going to be super intense. So a Scorpio Venus person is going to be bound to have very intense relationships, whether good or bad. Venus in Sagittarius, probably one of the worst placements to have your Venus, because Sagittarius is so notorious for being so non-committal and hard to pin down and just like flighty and just, you know, super adventurous, and that really does reflect how they are in love. I think a fault with Sagittarius Venus people is that they tend not to care enough for their partner's liking, especially if their partner has more of like a water or like earth influence in their chart, because Sagittarius Venus people don't want to be pinned down whatsoever. They probably would enjoy like having an open relationship or having the freedom of like never being committed in a relationship, because they are such adventurous, lighthearted, like happy-go-lucky people, and I feel like when that comes to love, that can definitely create a dissonance between how one person might want to be, you know, treated. I think Sagittarius, Venus people are more likely to have a lot of small flings than commit to one person. Again, this is not to say they can't commit, they definitely can. Any sign can commit. It's just a matter of how much freedom they have in their relationship is going to dictate how happy they are. So a Sagittarius Venus can commit, but in that relationship long term, they have to know that they will have freedom and complete, you know, flexibility in their relationship in order for them to commit to it. So Venus and Capricorn, that's what I am. So I know firsthand what it's like. We are definitely in it for the long run. We either have like one long-term person or nothing at all. And we are not super flamboyant or like flirtatious or anything when it comes to love. We kind of are more reserved. But when it comes to making the first move, like I did make the first move. I've always made the first move. It's not going to be in like a super flirtatious, fun way. I think it's going to be more along the lines of like taking control of the relationship, which I do think a lot of Venus and Capricorn people tend to wear the pants in the relationship just because they do like that aspect of control. We can have tendencies to be controlling and jealous, but again, to go along with Venus and Capricorn, I think one of the biggest things to us is if this person is going to fit into our long-term plan. We're always planning ahead, and especially thinking about financial stability and like stability in general. If someone isn't going to fit into our life plan and like how we're going to achieve financial stability and, you know, help us out with all the Capricorn like matters in our life, then we're not going to be interested, and that's going to be that. And we do tend to become pretty cold when it comes to turning people down. We can flip our emotions like a switch. And also, to go along with that, I wouldn't say that we're the most affectionate type. I think that we prefer like material gifts and like quality time than physical touch. You know, that's just a Capricorn type thing. Moving on to Venus in Aquarius. These people are gonna definitely be hard to get, hard to pin down. They are not very fond of commitment or even fond of like the idea of love, really. For them to commit to someone or even give them the time of day, this person definitely has to be very intelligent and quirky and like very overall interesting to them, because having Venus in Aquarius does make you more attracted to those like Aquarius-like things. They are definitely going to be a little bit distant in love, and it's not going to be like at the forefront of like what they care about and what they seek in life. They're definitely on a different pursuit most of the time and are definitely going to be more likely to have short flings that have absolutely no emotion attached to them. And they're definitely, I wouldn't say players, but they definitely tend to lead people on because they have such a like lighthearted view on love, and yet they really don't want anything to do with that person. However, like I said, they can commit. Anyone can commit, and if they do commit, like I've said for a few different signs before, they're gonna need that reassurance that they have the freedom they desire in that relationship, or else they will not even enter the relationship. If you can't give a Venus Aquarius person the freedom they desire, they're not going to have any interest in being with you. And then finally, the last sign of the zodiac is Pisces, and Venus and Pisces people are probably the most idealizing sign when it comes to Venus signs. I think that Venus and Pisces people tend to know from a very young age that they're going to get married, and like they know that love is one of their biggest goals in life, although they might not always actively seek it. I think that when Venus and Pisces people do get into a relationship, it's going to be like a one and done deal most of the time. They usually know exactly what they're looking for, and they do tend to idealize their partner, which can be a downfall, but it also can be very good when it comes to having faith in that person and like staying committed for a very long time. But overall, I feel like the thing with Pisces, Venus people is that they will like do anything for their relationship and drop anything for it, and I think that's definitely a very good trait to have when it comes to Venus signs. They're definitely very committed, very idealizing, very forgiving. Sometimes they can even be very submissive. So there's definitely a potential for it to get toxic very easily. But if everything goes like the way it should go, Venus and Pisces people are definitely some of the best to be in a committed relationship with, because they're always going to trust you and they're always going to put you first, and they're always going to like idealize you in their mind and think that you are like some ethereal human being. So that is my take on the Venus signs. I know everyone has something different probably to say, so comment your Venus sign, your significant other's Venus sign, and just comment anything that you think is interesting about, you know, how they work together. Alright, well, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.